Listen and practice.
For its size, the goat provides men with more useful things than almost any other animal. Yet it often does not receive the food and care given to other animals. The goat will try to eat anything and will put up with the most uncomfortable surroundings. But if it is well fed and carefully housed, the goat will produce much better milk, flesh, and wool. The goat is very closely related to the sheep. In fact, it looks very much like a sheep except for three things. It has a shorter tail which turns up instead of hanging down. Goats have beards and backward slanting horns, whereas male sheep have curly horns. Goats have hairy coat whereas sheep a woolen one. Goats can be divided into three groups: the Swiss goats, the Eastern goats, and the wool goats. The Swiss goats, which are found all over Europe and have upright, pointed ears, produce a fine quality of milk. Goat's milk is considered to be especially good for babies and invalids because it is easier to digest than cow's milk. It is also made into cheese and used in the manufacture of the famous Swiss chocolate. The Eastern goats, which have long, drooping ears, are raised both for milk and fleece. They are also valued for their short wool, which may be black, tan, or white. However, the best wool comes from two goats in the third group, the Angora and the Cassman breeds. The Angora, which came originally from near Ankara, the capital of Turkey, is now bred in Eastern Europe, Southern Africa, Australia, and the United States. The smaller Kashmir goat is difficult to raise outside its native home of Kashmir. Its so underhair has long been used to make the famous Kashmir shawls. In today's world, everybody talks much about his rights. There is a great hue and cry if our rights are infringed, but nobody seems to bother much about his duty. That is why there is a great unrest in our present day life. Actually, duties come first and rights afterwards. Many a time, one man's right in another man's duty and vice versa. For example, every man has right to have an undisturbed sleep. So it becomes the duty of his neighbor not to turn his radio at too high a pitch if we want to enjoy our rights. We should act in such a way that the rights of others are not trespassed. It can happen only if we take due account of our duties also. In short, rights and duties are complementary things and not contradictory. It is difficult to agree on which rights should be guaranteed to a citizen. For example, does a child have the rights to be educated in his her mother tongue? Some enthusiasts may say certainly, but others may say that well, everyone must have a right to education. The government should not be forced to spend money to employ special teachers for the language of every group and community. Take another example. Does every adult have a right to job? Some will say yes, others will disagree and say that this is a privilege, not a right. They say that in these days of population explosion, it is not possible for any government to ensure full employment. There can be disagreement on such controversial issues. but there can be no disagreement on such things as the freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. Every nation, what's the name, must ensure these rights for her citizens. Often, students who are very fond of reading books are labeled by their comrades as bookworms. Those labeling generally come from the mouth of who consider themselves as being gamesters. Boys who sign in athletics or in playing of some game, particularly cricket, consider that the game field is a better or noble arena for their activities and the expenditure of their energies than the classroom of the reading desk. The idea is born out of an inferiority complex inherent in the game minded students who actually envy their fellows who sign academically. Academic honors have a grace which is unique. It is not to be denied that the playing of games is a worthy activity. It is worthy in the sense that the team spirit can be created in the individual only if he has learned to participate in the playing of games. It is also true that the player does much for society and for his country on the playing field. It is true that the feeling of cooperation can be created in person only through group activities. But studies should not be sacrificed in order that students devote their time only to the playing of games. It is my feeling that those boys become serious with the playing, particularly of cricket, begin to ignore their and then their academic ability suffers, as it must. Let each type of activity have its own place in our daily round, and then only and then alone will the balanced division of interest produce the individual will have a proper view of things. Then will we have the student who is both academically good and who can hold his own on the game field. That is the personality that we want our education system to produce.